Greetings and welcome to Star Trek Discovery Pod, a sometimes funny, trying to be smart podcast covering all things new and classic Trek. Can science explain a Q? I am your Captain Mariah Gossett. With me on the view screen, we have
Clyde Haynes. Let's do this.
And stairs. Pause to touch it.
Stairs. Tonight we are discussing season 5, episodes 5 and 6 of Star Trek Lower Decks. But just a few reminders. Paul, where can people find this podcast?
People can find this podcast at Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. All links are at StarTrekPod.co. And if you like our content, and this is new.
It is new. So the Patreon is now charging monthly. So yeah, head on over there. Come hang out with us. The prices are the same for right now. They'll get adjusted later. But yeah, for just $2 a month, you can come hang out with us on the Patreon. It's a good time to join while Patreon figures out how to charge people monthly. I don't know why it's taking so long to transition this whole thing, but it does. So you can do that. So yeah, hang out with us over at patreon.com/Star Trek Pod. Clyde, if people are hanging out with us live during the live stream on YouTube, which happens on Thursday nights, you can join us on YouTube. Star Trek Discovery Pod is the page to do it. How should people interact?
Just think your thought, and because we're all betazoids, we'll just read what it is your comment is. No, all jokes aside, just type capital P, capital O, capital D, capital pod into the chat, and we will take a look at your thoughts, your musings, your collection of ideas, and your interesting comments about the show. And then in that special moment, type capital HF, and we'll take a look at what you thought about this particular episode.
Wow, that's so awesome, right? Your camera just tracked you as you like.
I really don't like the tracking. I was like, I need a way to zoom in, but I like,
there it goes. There it goes.
I don't like it.
You know, it's one of those things. I love the podcast, right? Because it's great to listen to when you're moving out and about. But if you have not logged on and watched our YouTube feed, there are subtle things that you miss, right? Like there's stuff in the background, especially Mariah, that I always want to know. Like, does she play the drums? Questions that you would only ask if you check out our YouTube channel. Yeah. And then the live stream, you could actually ask her live.
Yeah. Why is there an old timey radio? What is that weird pink thing that's hanging out behind you? Who knows? The other side right there. What's that little guy? Who knows?
And if you're just listening to the podcast, you have no idea about Paul's hat. So
yeah, you're really missing out on the hat game. Mm-hmm. The hat game's really strong.
I'm raising farming.
It does look like the Boy Blue Raisin Farm hat.
That's right.
That's actually great.
It is very raisin farmy. Very raisin farmy. I had a question I was going to ask you guys. Oh, this is when we say POD for pod, like, do y'all remember that band POD? Mm-hmm. Do you remember that band?
I don't.
You don't remember, like, I'm so alive for the very first time. Like,
it was a weird band.
And I think I can fly. That's literally lyrics. I'm pretty sure. I'm quoting
and actually,
it correctly.
The song tonally perfect.
Thank you.
Yes, I love it.
And it's one of those things where you're thinking, well, it's like, was the name of the band Pod? No, the name of the band was POD.
POD. It was POD. They were very big, I feel like, after Columbine. They had a whole song about like school shootings. That was like a big deal.
Love it. Like, there's nothing like I like to chill out to than like school shooting, like songs. Apparently.
Like rap rock. You don't want school shooting rap rocks?
Yeah, no, that's great. It's great. Love it.
You lost me at rap rock, honestly. Like, I'm out on rap rock.
I think they fell into that category.
I have to say the tracking, I'm loving it. I am loving it. I'm getting seasick.
There's no way to turn it off that I figured out yet. So sorry.
It's great. It's this feeling of like Mariah can't go anywhere without us seeing what she's doing.
I'm just gonna do this the whole.
Now it doesn't do it. Now it doesn't do it.
Of course not. Okay, this is some nonsense. A bunch of nonsense is happening. I think it's time we dig into some. Ooh, what do I want to pick?
Hot freaks.
It's time for some hot freaks. What did y'all think of these 2 episodes?
I'll let Paul go first.
Hey, it's me. I'm Paul. I'm with the hat. I think these two were not my favorite episodes, though they all had things that I really liked. For example, the Starbase 80 episode, uh I really liked the music because it had all that like, kind of old Star Trek, like I'm in danger. I'm in a spooky place, and I thought that was great. I think what it was like you kind of I felt like I was ahead of the stories.
Mm.
Like, like I go like, oh, that guy's gonna be the engineer. They're doing that. Like I know that the comms are doing it because they're showing that like green little flicker when they touch the comms. And so I go like, oh well, I'm not believing anyone because well, I know more than them. So people are catching up to me.
Hmm.
Although like, how can you not love corn dogs? I was going like, oh, like
With toppings. Did you notice
exactly.
there's a toppings bar?
Exactly. Even the animated Star Trek gets it right. But like, for some reason, Strange New World can't get,
Can't put ketchup on a hot dog.
and just so you know, like my wife and I were watching Matlock. We're not plugging Matlock, although we really enjoyed Matlock.
Available on
show.
Paramount Plus.
Available on Paramount Plus. That's right. And
Mhm.
and they went, some characters went and got hot dogs. You know what was on hot dog?
Toppings.
Yep, ketchup and mustard. You might not be a ketchup person, you might not be a mustard person, but there were toppings.
I will say this now that we are fully into hot dog chat.
I like that we haven't gotten past Paul's hot freak yet because we
I know.
fully fledged into hot dog chat.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm with Paul on this. A dry hot dog is a little bit weird, especially from a vendor. That just seems a little bit weird. But if you want to eat a corn dog without a topping, I'm not going to be mad at you. It's a corn dog. It kind of it's like a hot dog with its own topping.
I'm a firm believer
it
it needs mustard.
Yeah, I'm a mustard corn dog person too. But Clyde, I respect you. I would
I'm
not
just saying.
like I'm gonna tell you this. Like if we saw that start, what episode was it? It was like when they went time traveling when Lon went time traveling.
Mhm.
Lon.
If it was if if Weird Kirk, not my Kirk, went and got a corn dog and took a bite of it without mustard, there would be no hot dog talk. I would go, okay, that's a choice. But because he went back for a dry hot dog, what the hell? However, to be fair, he's from space, born like
Is he from Iowa?
No, he like that alternate version was born. He was born in space, so maybe he's never had a hot dog before. And how would he know to put toppings on it? So I'm going to give him that. I'm going to give him that.
I'll say this.
That's my most generous self. Most generous self. Yep.
A great corn dog doesn't necessarily need a topping. If you got like a Texas State Fair corn dog, you're probably good. Like, I mean, you can always put mustard on it. I'm not, I like more of a Dijon mustard. I'm kind of a fancy mustard
You're bougie.
guy. I'm a bougie mustard guy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a bougie mustard.
Love it. Like
I'm guessing.
What did you think of Gods and Angels?
Okay. All right. So we'll get into that.
Oh,
yeah. Go ahead, Paul.
Gods and Angels. Yeah. Like I just felt like, oh, they're hooking up. Like I know what that is on the wall.
It was very Romeo and Juliet. As soon as like an additional person was missing, yeah.
And so like, okay, well then, like there are some things that were funny, like the Voltroning into a bigger orb and like into a bigger cube. And they're not imaginative. I thought that was hilarious, but at the same time, that was not the A plot was not that interesting, and I think what was the demigod's name? What was her name?
Oh, Ella.
Yeah.
I felt that she was
Ollie, Ensign Ollie.
Like I felt like she didn't seem very likable. Like they made her. Whereas like when Mariner, like I see the parallels of them, but like I don't. It's fine to have the person unlikable to the majority of people, but when our character like sees them as unlikable as well, it kind of makes me go like, are we not on the same page, Mariner? Like she sucks, right? So it's kind of like I just felt disconnected with it.
Yeah, I think for me, I really enjoyed Starbase 80. I also just have a soft spot for Nicole Byer, who is our guest star in that episode.
Love.
Who is so funny as Cassia Knox, who's also an LRN, which is so funny. And I'm going to just give this at the top because I was like, wow, the layers, lower decks. So obviously Guinan, played by Whoopi Goldberg. I don't know if you know, but when Nicole Byer gets on Zooms, her handle, like her screen name, is Whoopi Goldberg. So it looks like you're getting on a Zoom with Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, I love that.
And it's a long time joke she's had, to the point where her YouTube channel used to be, she had Whoopi Goldberg as her username for her YouTube channel. And she had to change it when she put out a special because people couldn't find her because it was Whoopi Goldberg instead of Nicole Byer. So the fact that they made her the same kind of character as Guinan was just chef's kiss. So I see you, Lower Decks. I see what you're doing, and I appreciate it.
And I have to say, her voice acting is so distinct. Like the moment she said, she says hi, I go like, oh, I know who that is.
Yeah.
Like,
it made me. I heard her and I was like, oh, I miss Grand Crew.
I also miss Grand Crew. Man, yeah. But Nicole Byer, I'm also really stoked because I don't know if you also know this additional Easter egg is that her first ever like celebrity crush was specifically Jean-Luc Picard.
Wow.
Did not know that.
Yes.
I thought you were going to go in a different direction with that. I thought for sure you were going to say Geordi, right? And I've been like,
Jean-Luc Picard.
That's a weird flex, but okay.
So I'm really excited that she is now part of the Star Trek family. I really enjoyed Starbase 80. I think it was really silly, and I think I like the episodes that lean heavier into it being a comedy. It obviously had very little like character development, plot pushing forward, but I liked seeing how Captain Freeman was dealing with like this. It felt very much like everyone in these two episodes is dealing with their knowledge of what their counterparts did in this other universe, right? So we have like the version of Captain Freeman dealing with it in Starbase 80, and you also have, and then you have Boimler trying to get on the good side of T'Ana, so that he can be like other Bradward. So I just think it's like an interesting parallel. And then you also have Mariner kind of, I think, figuring out where that middle ground is like, oh, I don't want to be that person that I met, but I also can see myself in this this ensign. So
I like where you're going with that. I'm going to take a slightly different take on Starbase 80. I was disappointed. And the reason why I was disappointed is that we hear about Starbase 80 forever. And the first time we actually get to see it is kind of like, I had lots of like, seeing this as a title, I was really looking forward to like what is this going to be? And it, I was a little disappointed in the star base of it. I didn't think the plot was driven very far. I did like, however, there's like 1,001 Easter eggs in this.
Oh my God, so many Easter eggs.
So many. That was kind of fun. So go back on the second watch was like, okay, now I'm seeing some things that are kind of fun. But as an episode go, it was just like, okay.
Yeah. Let's read a couple of these messages.
One other thing from Starbase 80 in particular. Did you guys recognize Stephen Root? Like, was loving Stephen Root in this. He was the voiceover of the engineer that tricked them into doing all the work.
Oh, I didn't put that together.
Yeah, I'm a big Stephen Root fan from a number of things.
Yeah. Office Space, classic.
Yes.
Also incredible in Barry.
Yes.
Really great in Barry. Okay, let's go to some messages from the Menagerie. Part of the perks of being one of our Patreon members is that, let's say you can't make it to the chat tonight, you can always leave us a message over in the Slack so that you can share your hot freaks of these episodes. Paul, do you want to read this first one from Karen?
Sure. Starbase 80! Exclamation point, question, exclamation point. Thoughts? I find this pretty delightful. Definitely the most Easter eggy of the season. Somewhat like the Kazon episode was. some really funny formed guest characters. I think we all love Chad. Surprisingly, not surprisingly, Chad was great. Chad is a hero. I would actually watch Starbase 80 show, as would I actually. Like something happened to like something happens to really put them on the map, and they keep the scrappy Haji Podgy personality despite that. On Gods and Angels, this is probably my least favorite of the season. Entertaining, but the cubes and sphere thing didn't work for me well. I'm definitely interested in the guest ensign, but would have preferred a Talin heavy episode instead. Yeah, I've been missing Talin.
Same.
I didn't think anything particularly stood out for me on this one. Edited.
Glad you read the notes. Carmen says, like Karen, I enjoyed all the Easter eggs in Starbase 80. It was a fun episode to watch, probably my favorite so far of the season. As for Of Angels and Gods, I enjoyed this episode and laughed out loud a lot. I enjoy the Easter eggs that they go all the way back to TOS and the ones that point back to the earlier LD episodes. I definitely need to watch this one again. And then Clyde, do you want to read the next one?
Sure. From Kung, it says Starbase 80 is one of my favorite episodes of the season. Ransom clearly knows his way around Gel. Clem is way cooler anaphasic entity than Ronan. I definitely watch a Starbase 80 show. Of Gods and Angels is a letdown after Starbase 80. I didn't really care about the orbs versus the cubes. Ali is an interesting character. She's clearly based off Who Mourns for Adonis. And so I don't wonder why she's I don't know why she's a descendant of Zeus.
Wouldn't be a descendant of Zeus.
Descendant of Zeus instead of Apollo.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I got an answer for that. So Zeus is Apollo's dad, right?
Oh,
Sure.
Yeah, I think you're correct.
So, it's Apollo's kid. Just how
descendant,
Zeus and Leto. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there you go.
There we go. Greek mythology for the win. Okay, big pitch time. And I hope Justin Simeon and Tawny Newsome are listening. You can just have this one. They're writing the live action comedy show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who better to lead your live action comedy than Nicole Byer? And so obviously they should be writing a Starbase 80 show.
There you go.
Tossing it out there.
I mean, Starbase 80, if you're doing a live action comedy, Starbase 80 is probably a good
Gods and
that.
Angles. We're all reading it like angels because we expect it to say angels.
Of Gods and Angles. Yes.
Thank you, Tatako.
I would say in the Starbase 80 episode, of all the Easter eggs, one of my favorites is there's a scene where they're looking at like an old, it's like a used uniform store. Like,
yep.
And they've got all the uniforms in there. But if you look closely in the background, there's a pile of red shirts.
Yeah.
It's just hilarious. Like, it's just like, and they look, it's a bunch of pile of like red shirts from deceased, ensigns. It's just, there are a lot of little throwbacks.
So many little weird throwbacks, but yeah, Starbase 80, the premise is essentially like they went onto this planet to explore some like kelp, seaweed. They bring back something with them classic. It first takes over sectarian ops and then it slowly infects the rest of the crew. And they think that there's something wrong with their nav system. So they have to stop at Starbase 80, which we know Mariner has been sent to in the past. So she's not excited about it. I was really hoping through the whole opening credits, you would just hear Mariner yelling no the whole time. I thought that would have been really funny.
Sure. I love it.
This was not me, but I read this one, and I can't remember exactly where, but apparently at the beginning of the episode Starbase 80, they're headed somewhere when they find out that they're having navigation issues. That apparently is a place where every time a Star Trek ship tries to go, they never make it. It's actually a destination that's never been. Like I love it. Always happens.
Classic, man.
And it's supposed to be like a Ryza-esque like paradise planet. Yeah, I think it's where Jadzia and Worf were supposed to like honeymoon and they didn't make it. Like it's a bunch of stuff. So I was like, that's kind of funny. That was a deep cut, and I was like, I like that. I read that, but thought it was
That's a
still
deep
pretty
cut.
good.
And then just to say it, so Starbase 80 was directed by Bob Suarez, written by May Darman, and then Of Gods and Angles was directed by Brandon Williams and written by Aaron Burdett, who Aaron, I think, also wrote the season opener. So just as a fun note. I thought it like you were saying, Paul, like you could kind of be ahead of it, right? You're ahead of the characters the whole time. I still found like the charm of I still found the episode charming. And I think it was like the way that Nicole Byers' character, who I'm gonna have to look at her name again. Cassia Knox, I think does a really good job of like bringing silliness to the episode and the idea that she's like, oh no, I came here on purpose. Like, I really like how vintage and like kind of old timey this place is. And like, it gives me something to really do. The fact that she's wearing like an Enterprise, like era jumpsuit is also hilarious. The gel, I think, was such a reminder. I think I just fully blocked out the like how often they used the gel decontamination thing on Enterprise just to get that really hot cast down to their skivvies. And yeah, I think Ransom would have fallen right in with that crew.
Yeah, he would have. Yes, he would have.
What are we thinking about Boimler's slow growth mustache? Yes, Brad was Chipoling.
I'm like, every week it's just kind of like, can we get to the beard already? Like, just come, like, can we
I
get to
don't
the
think he
Riker
can
beard?
fully grow a beard.
No,
that's gonna be my
that's fine.
theory.
It's gonna be patchy and weird. I'm just like, dude.
I you know, like people can't grow beards sometimes. It's not an issue.
It's not a moral failing. Absolutely not.
No. I will say this about the T'Polling. One of the things I really do appreciate about the show is that it does bring all of the franchises together. Like the Enterprise references was great, but there was also another subtle, like Strange New World kind of reference. So again, back in the scene with all the uniforms, in the background, they had an original TOS uniform right next to the Strange New Worlds uniforms of the same kind of Enterprise. And I was like, that's kind of cool. So I love that, like I said, lots of Easter eggs. The T'Polling thing, and I think that was one of the best ways to reference a kind of cringy thing that Enterprise did.
The one cringy thing.
I said,
and I'm going to say right now, why was it cringy?
It's just the frequency in which they did it. It just was kind of, it was a little weird, but I like the fact that they kind of they almost redeemed it a little bit.
Yeah. What did y'all think about the return of the Akmarians,
I thought it was hilarious. I really like that episode. Like, you know, in Next Gen, like I like the Akmarian episode. So like when I see all that, I go like, oh, look at you displaced people. I kind of thought that you guys were solved. Like when Riker, shot that assassin.
Yeah, I liked the just the amount of scowling.
Yeah, Justice. Love it.
I also thought it was like, I thought the arcade was really silly. The taking down of the bats was like a silly subplot. Like, to your point, like it was definitely, I think, obvious by like the third like appearance of our engineer that was the person they were actually looking for. And he was just like, I'm going to have you make all these repairs that I don't want to do or don't have the equipment to do. Yeah. Anyway, I just thought it was fun.
I like the comparison of like, oh, there's the Cerritos, which is like looked down upon, and here is Starbase 80 that's looked down upon. And I get it. I see all that. I like what was that Parasite with the doctor that,
Oh yeah, that was still. He's like, I didn't think it was that noticeable. Or I've been told it's not that noticeable.
Yeah, and so like it's some deep, like that episode where Geordi turns into like an invisible monster.
Yeah.
And so and it's hilarious. Like that they're all the show is not funny. The episode is not funny. It's just like, to me, I was like, oh, the plotting is I've seen better.
I
Yeah,
guess
it was
my
like.
oh, I was
Go
gonna
ahead,
say,
Glenn.
I guess my one question is, we all thought it was hilarious, right? There are all these moments. But if you're new to Trek, like
Yeah,
if
no,
you're
it's tough.
brand new, I don't know if you're catching any of this. Like,
I think the
what's there
things
for-
you're laughing at though are like the characters like licking weird things when they're in their zombie mode, and then like
Yeah.
you know, Mariner and like what's her name? I'm gonna Nicole Byer Cassia. Like Mariner and Cassia just like constantly like the bicker of like, we're cursed. There's no way we're cursed. It's not that bad. Everything is great. Like, la la la. Like, I think there's enough situational comedy that even if you don't get all of the references, because like, I mean, like I watched this episode, the first time I watched this episode, I was like eating lunch and having to check email. So I wasn't fully paying attention to like all of the reference visually. So it was like, for me, the jokes were still there.
Yeah, no.
It's
Hey, Nicole.
It's interesting because I'm laughing now inside. I'm thinking, what am I laughing at? I'm laughing at the idea of Jet riding the kids' Targ toy, like the rocking Targ. Like, I don't know, that just popped in my head, and I'm trying not to like uncontrollably laugh while Mariah is talking, so it seems I'm laughing at her, but I'm thinking about Jet on this because you talked about zombie form. There are a bunch of things that are just visually funny, even if you don't at first know what you're laughing at.
Yeah, like when the doctor smacks the dolphin in the face with a net because he's like, I don't know how else to do this. Like, there was a lot of slapstick comedy in this episode. A lot of punching and kicking and knocking people out. So, I agree. Was it like my favorite episode? No. I still think like most of the time, like Lower Decks is firing on so many high cylinders that they can have a pretty meh episode, and I still love it.
Yeah. I got a question for you guys. So this in Gods and Angles, we've got this new ensign Ollie. Is this a character you want to see more of, or no?
Not in the last season. I'm hoping it's kind of a one and done. She'll be in the background. Maybe she gets a joke or two going forward. You know, I understand the idea of Ollie as this reminder of where Mariner came from and where she is now. I think it's an interesting way to not have to have like, it's a good show instead of tell to show us the journey of Mariner in a final season.
I can see that.
Yeah, no, I think for all of it, like, you know, I don't want to see more of her because I don't think she's interesting. Because I've probably spent 4 years or seasons or whatever, like watching Mariner do something like this, but better. You know, like, and there's a little bit in there where he goes like, we're not the same kind of thing. And it's true. Like, you know, Mariner and her are not the same in their motivations, but it renders very, what you call it? It renders quite the same.
Yeah. I did like how I thought it was a funny lower decky way to like the cubes and the orbs was like such a funny way in how when Star Trek is like, it's essentially being like, you're the same, but not the same. And you live in the same planet and we have to get you to like be friends. It was like very silly to me.
No, like one of the best episodes of TOS was the black and white episode, right?
You mean the cringiest? Absolutely.
Is that the cringiest?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, probably not.
like,
but
like,
yeah, no, it's like whenever people are like, Star Trek was never political, and you're just like, Kate, like that's like the episode you point to of like from the very beginning, it's always been political, my friends. Like,
yeah, I think when I look at that episode, I think like, oh, this is really on, you know, like it's both like on the nose and not, because when I first saw it and I go like, oh, well, like he's different than me. How is he different? Like, on the right side, I'm white on the right side. He's brown and black. The other person, and I'm like, oh, that is so stupid.
Yeah,
you know, it was just really, you know, and I imagine in the '60s, like, you know, that was that's kind of like really, I don't say subversive, but subversive. You know, like because you just made a point. Like so. Anyway, and so when you say like yeah, these orbs and cubes, I'm like, yeah, no, it seems stupid
Yeah,
because they all just
let that be your
Clyde,
last
you're gonna
battlefield.
say it seems like you're
No,
gonna say
I mean, no, you're right. Like I struggle with gods and angles a little
Uh-huh.
bit because you talk about being ahead of on Starbase 80.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, like they're arguing, and I'm not that interested in their arguing. And I guess part of it is when we've seen kind of civil wars happen and these arguments between species or cultures on Star Trek, sometimes the discussion is actually really interesting, right?
Yeah, we didn't
it's
really get much of a
fascinating.
peek of like what but it's like is lower I don't know if lower
It's lower
decks
decks
is
the
really
platform.
gonna
Yeah.
really gonna like dive into it,
And
But,
and I agree with Mariah. Like the minute that the other sphere the orb was missing, I was like I was expecting this to be
Mhm.
a Romeo and Juliet thing
Mhm.
from the first minute that it was going on. Now, did I know what that was on the wall? I did not know what that was on the wall. Was I a little bit disgusted at the end? I was.
I
yes.
did.
I was like, yuck.
Like, the moment that they said it's probably this, I go, no, it isn't.
So
but
that one caught me off guard. Everything else seemed like, I see where we're going. Why can't you get there faster than you're getting there?
You know what it is? Like the way I would describe it is this: like normally on lower decks, this the sphere and the cube thing. If it was just going to be as simple as this, it wouldn't have taken so much of the storyline. The joke would would have made its thing, and then it would go away.
Mhm.
But because, like this was actually the A storyline, and this was the conflict between that's causing problems
Mhm.
for everyone else. You kind of wanted it to be elevated, or I kind of wanted it to be elevated to a little bit more sophistication. You could have found more humor in it, but like they always played it at the level of like square, round, like, and so I think that was what made me not it's not even enjoy it. It'd be fine. Like, I wouldn't go back to rewatch it.
Yeah, it could also just be, I don't know. There's also like I think they are making fun at like how much sometimes political arguments are so stupid and like uh and I think that's what they're trying to say with like it's not angled enough, it's not round enough. There's like the people where like the thing is not enough, but then we're not even focusing on what the thing is. And it might just be hitting a little too hard that it is my brain is so broken that even just being like squares and circles arguing is too much. It's too much. I can't.
Chicago says Roma spheres and Julie cubes. Sorry,
that would have been a great alt. That would have been a great alt title.
That would have been a better title. That should have been the title.
That should have been the title. It honestly probably would have been a better episode if it was more like Capulets.
Yes, or even a West Side story, with full on dance numbers with cubes and spheres. Like that would have been hilarious to me. I would have laughed out loud and said, "Great episode."
Yeah, like, that would have been really funny.
I also feel like Zeus Girl, like didn't necessarily fit into like cubes, like a cube fight. Like I didn't see how like her this was the best vehicle for that. For example, I melted the monitor, so I hit it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that seemed really weird to me.
Like the hiding of the power thing. I wish that had actually been developed more, like in a more interesting way. Like it's like we saw failed experiments in some of it, but I felt like it was so obvious that she has like electrical powers that instead there was no like actual hiding of it. But yeah, I mean, I like got it. I got what they're trying to do. Was it my favorite? No. The plot line I did like though is Boimler trying to get to Anna to like him, and the way when he curses at her and she tears the ever loving shit out of him was fucking hilarious.
You know, it was perfect in that joke was in kind of from a comedy standpoint,
Mhm.
it didn't stop. Like there's
Sure.
a point
no.
where you're watching and you're thinking, oh, it's gonna stop. She
It
just
doesn't.
kept going for him. Like
Yeah.
he'd move and she'd bring him back in there. Like she just kept going. And that is where I just found myself laughing and laughing and almost thinking, like, why am I laughing? She's killing him. Yeah. That was a pretty interesting plot. And then the whole her
Yeah.
pulling the Zeus bolt.
Out of his butt. Oh my gosh.
I think that's actually one of the things that I felt was like pretty interesting. Like not only is her electrical powers, but like at the end they turn into like physical
Lightning bolts. Yeah,
Uh,
but they're like they almost look like they're like spongy.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly. So like I go like, at least that's a choice. I look at that and goes, that's a choice. I like that.
any thoughts on what his actual nickname is since they bleep it out?
Oh, I definitely think it's FO. Like,
Oh, maybe it would be. I thought it would be like some kind of butt thing, because like the lightning bolt was in his butt.
Like Asso,
Yeah, or something like that. You know, like
lightning Asso.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was like I really enjoyed that B plot a lot. I thought it was really silly. I also love that like Tendy's trying so hard for them all to learn the lesson of just be themselves, and then in the end when Boimler gets what he wants and then Rutherford is like, I just have to be like my alternate universe person and then we will all succeed.
Like yeah, I think the joke that I like the most is the like, you know, like the bevel is 0.3
my
microns
God.
different, and it
Yes.
goes, and it's red.
It's a
Oh,
great
yeah.
runner.
I
That was a
I
great
think
runner.
I think what's bothering me just a little bit is I'm having that same feeling with Discovery in their final season. Like we're what about halfway through?
Mhm.
I don't we're maybe more than halfway through.
Sure.
And I'm looking and going, I don't want it to end. Like I don't mind this episode. Like I don't mind either of these episodes if I know that there's another season coming, because I'm just enjoying it. Like I'm,
Sure.
you know, we're nitpicking
But
a
isn't it
little
also
bit,
about
but like,
enjoying it? I
yeah,
think there's
those are
always
like,
in Lower Decks been those like mid-season sort of like
Mhm.
goofy swings. And like sometimes they hit, at least for me. You know, I think about things like the peanut hamper owl episode.
Well, like so. See, I did not find the peanut hamper owl, like, you know, particularly funny, but I respected it. I go like, oh, this is like, you know, this is a good episode,
Mhm.
even though like you know, like just think like, oh, peanut hamper, I want to be, you know, being around you
Mhm.
makes me want to sing. Ah!
Yeah.
You know. So like
the singing was funny. Like I'm laughing at it
yeah.
now. You're right.
So you know, but like with it's I guess what like I always say to people, like I'm more than willing to accept someone swinging and missing.
Mhm.
But if they miss and they try to bunt, then I'm a little more critical of it. And so I feel like these
Yeah.
two episodes are a little bunty, like a little
Oh,
bunt cake.
I just feel
I
like
would say
there's a lot
bunty.
more that they could do with Lower Decks that's ultimately not going to get done, right? Like
Maybe you know, like they got 3 more episodes. It could be amazing. Like, you know,
but
like I'm
what
really
I'm
curious to
saying,
see. Yeah, go on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that they're not.
We have
I
4
don't
more
know that.
episodes.
4.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know that they're gonna wrap up like all the things they could do. Like we still haven't. I feel like there's a whole Shax and Tiana thing. I mean, who knows if we're ever gonna get to the end of the Rutherford mysteries?
Like I think it's just one flash forward. Like, you know, seeing like freaking Burnham and like Book, you know, together as old people. Admiral Boimler, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting. So the next through the rest of the series, the titles we have are Fully Dilated,
Mhm.
Upper Decks, Fishu Quest, and then the new Next Generation is our last episode.
That's a hell of a title. That better be a great episode. Like the new Next Generation. That has to be a fantastic episode with a title like that. Like you just can't have
I'm
a title like that.
I'm excited for it. Yeah, I'm still excited to see where we go. I feel like we usually get a couple of these sort of like swing episodes in the
Yeah,
middle.
it's fine. Like, you know,
Yeah,
like I take this over not Star Trek.
exactly. We do
Fact.
have the Section 31 movie to look forward to in January in the new year. So that will
Ooh,
be
yeah,
what we're
like,
covering then.
yeah. Like I was told that was supposed to be a series,
It was
and
supposed to be a series.
yes, and then they compressed it, and like I hope
Michelle
that
Yeoh just blew up, and she was like, "I ain't got time for another series. Let's do movies where I can win awards."
I don't know. I wonder if they just knew what they wanted to do with it. Like,
Well, it was originally given to two writers who worked on Discovery,
yeah.
and then it got taken from them, and this dude came in and wrote it.
Yeah, I mean, I believe the writer, like he's a person that's in the Paramount rotation. Like I think he
Yeah.
has a show coming out that's like Watson as a doctor in
Yeah,
like
Craig Sweeney.
I
Yeah,
think I have a
done.
yeah.
Yeah, he was a consulting producer for Discovery. Yeah, he has Watson coming out, like you were saying.
Like, you know, but like it's like I'm very curious as to what can you do with Section 31. I believe that in a movie, like, you know, I believe that like it, like a Starbase 80 like episode is great, but like there's so much to talk about in Section 31 with time travel, with Michelle Yeoh from a Terran from a different, you know, like what can you really do in a 2-hour movie that will be satisfying? It makes me unfortunate. It like makes me worried.
Yeah, we'll see. I also wonder, yeah, like how much they're gonna explain her like full backstory
Yeah, no,
rather than just like, yeah,
but
mean,
no Trek is better than some Trek is better than
exactly.
no Trek.
well, let me
And
ask this: Do you sorry?
Ask away, Clyde. I'm
Do
all
you
here.
think that if the movie does really well, that it might generate buzz for a spin-off TV show?
I mean, it could. I think it's also like it comes down to scheduling stuff too. Cause like I know Michelle Yeoh shot Section 31 and then she immediately went to go to Prague to shoot the Blade Runner TV show. So it probably also depends on how that Blade Runner TV show pans out.
Like
So
I'm a little more cynical.
On
like, you know,
Blade Runner, because that's gonna like Michelle Yeoh and Blade Runner.
I know.
Sign me up.
It sounds great. I'm very excited about it.
yeah, I'm a little more cynical. Like, I mean, I think there, like, it was very important for CBS / Paramount Plus to invest in Star Trek because Star Trek people are rabid space babies, and they would need to watch it. Here's a Star Trek thing. It's out. I need to watch it. And so you have people go and get Paramount Plus, so that like that they so that their numbers go up, right? But then once they're in, like like is it a matter of kind of like just maintenance? And so with that,
I will say Karen makes a good point. It's like if it does do well, maybe they'll do more small projects, like maybe an LDS movie, which would be fun if the movie does well.
like I hope I hope all this stuff. It's
Mhm.
just like when I think of streaming, I think of like of HBO. HBO only made money because it was able to draw more people in because it won awards. So, like does the new Star Trek show bring in more people? I don't know.
To your point, Paul, I am not sure, especially from a streaming standpoint, how the business side of it works, right? In terms of revenue and what that looks like. In my mind, I look at something like this and go, you're right. Star Trek fans are rabid. Like you put out a Star Trek, whatever, they're gonna watch it, right? And kind of religiously, like they're gonna just keep watching it. And but I don't know. Like to me, on the surface, I'd look and go, well, you should always have a Star Trek show because not only are they gonna watch it, here's what they're gonna do. It drives numbers to Paramount Plus. right? Like you're gonna sign up for it. Now you may not sign up for it year round, but you will at least sign up it, binge it, and then pause it, and then when the next season comes out, do the same thing.
Mhm.
But it drives us crazy fans to go, if this is the
Yeah.
only place I can get it, I'm gonna get it. I can't not get it.
Sure.
But I guess it just feels like that's not enough, maybe, or
Well, I mean, like
maybe only having one show it will fits that need. I'm not sure.
Like we're one demographic. Like I'm watching Matlock. You know, I'm watching.
Yeah,
Matlock.
I was like, I watch After Midnight. I watch a lot of stuff on Paramount Plus. Actually, I watch all the Star Treks. I watch Ghosts.
I watch Ghosts. I watch Matlock. But what drove me to Paramount Plus was Star Trek.
Yeah, no, and I think that is great. I think everyone who is going to get Star Trek has mostly gotten Star Trek. I mean, Paramount Plus. I don't know if Academy is going to get a lot of new people coming on to Paramount Plus for Academy. I hope so, but like I don't know if it's going to have that much buzz.
Yeah, I mean, I think any new Star Trek show, though, does open the door for new fans to come into
100%.
the fold. Because, like, I was at a conference, and the person who planned the conference.
Yes, Nicole, you should be watching Matlock.
I was their daughter was there, their kiddo was there at the end. It was like the last day as we were all like wrapping up, and I'd say they were probably like a tween. And they loved Discovery, and they had not watched Star Trek before, and that was their gateway into Star Trek. Sure. And I was like, this is dope. This is great. And so I think every time you do open the door where it's like, there's no barrier to entry here, it's going to get other people in.
Yeah. I think the Star Trek library will keep people to stay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the draw that I'm talking about. And I could be wrong. Like, I hope I'm wrong. Like, I think
you all aren't watching New Frasier.
Yeah,
I tried.
Like,
I also tried. I love Frasier, and it's not. Frasier is not.
But that's like saying you're not watching the new Magnum PI, MacGyver, or whatever other these remakes are that are not geared, or they're not aimed at me. I'm not their target.
Well, to be fair, like I don't think Matlock was aimed at me either, but like,
yeah, but Kathy Bates is amazing, so that was gonna
Kathy Bates. I also haven't watched Matlock yet, but I was gonna bring up, I wonder if with
and by the way, this Matlock talk, everyone.
I do wonder though if Academy is going to appeal to those folks who really love things like Pretty Little Liars and Riverdale and like that vibe, because I know the showrunner came from a CW show. She did the Nancy Drew, which I watched a couple episodes of and I enjoyed, but I was like, oh, this isn't for me. You know, I'm just like, I'm not this target demo, but I understand what this show is doing and who it's for.
Yeah.
I was like, it was me when I was like 19 and 20. It was like, I watched the OC and like all those shows that used to be on the CW, you know?
I will go and watch an episode of OC after we wrap up right now. I love the OC.
Listen, Seth Cohen. Forever.
Ooh, what you say?
Yes.
Anyway, now that we've gone down a whole rabbit hole about Star Trek business and the shows we also watch on Paramount Plus.
Is this gonna be Star Trek Discovery Pod and Matlock?
Matlock? Do we need to start a Matlock spinoff? That can happen. Anyway, but yeah, I'm excited for the next couple of episodes. Next week is a holiday, so I think similarly we will be off next week, and we'll be back the week after to do episodes 7 and 8. Yeah, it
love
would
it.
Be.
Hey guys,
just so you Nicole, know Disney, we don't need more conglomerates. We don't need them. No more. I'm so sorry. I don't want Trek under Disney. They already have one of the Star franchises. They can't have them both.
What if? Oh no, never mind. I mean, the amount of money that they would put into a Star Trek production could either be good or terrible. I just don't know what direction it would go.
With budgets, here's my thing with budgets. I'm gonna wave my little pen here. Budgets.
Pointing at people.
I'm pointing at people. Listen, the budget doesn't have to be big for it to be good.
True.
Case in point is Agatha All Along. I think one of the best looking Marvel franchise pieces ever, point blank, because they had to use practical effects, real makeup, fully formed sets. None of this, like so much limited visual effects. It was all special effects, not visual effects.
It
And I
sounds
think
like
that's
you've
why
really went
it
down
looked good.
the witch's road.
I went fully down the witch's road. You gave me Catherine Hahn and Aubrey Plaza in a long-term multi-century love affair. Of course I'm going to watch that and love it.
I mean, like, one of the things that we keep hinting on just a little bit is, I think we're at a point where you have to have good writing, you have to have good production. But if you've got a really good cast and kind of like cast that you can bank on, then you're probably gonna have a pretty good show, right? Like there's some things like what we're seeing is, and they don't have to be like the young stars either, because
Michelle Yeoh, case in point.
We're saying Michelle Yeoh and Kathy Bates, right? Like they're phenomenal. And like, was I interested in a CBS show about a remake of Matlock? I was like, on the surface, I was like, I'm out. But then you said Kathy Bates, and spoiler alert, Jeff, or is it Jeff Bridges or Bo Bridges? Either way, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
but
Stargate.
Right?
Stargate
yeah.
Bridges.
Yes. I'm going, you kind of sort of had me.
You had me at Bo Bridges. People say that all the time.
I mean, yes. So I kind of look at that and go, there's a recipe here that if you do it, I think it's a success. And it doesn't have to be, to your point, Mariah, it doesn't have to be big budget, right? It just has to be well done and quality.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've rambled.
Yes.
It is Ramble Talk.
Welcome to Ramble Talk. We will see you all after the holiday. Everyone be safe.
Everyone
be warm,
take care. Right? Like
take care of each other. Be nice to each other.
Be kind. Blah blah blah.
Show gratitude and don't eat dry turkey.
Live long and prosper.
Bye.
Bye-bye.